So here is my take on Shakur Stevenson at this moment in time, where he's I guess he got in some he got a little emotional maybe on social media, where he was going at some podcasters. And these podcasters, you got to remember, they're if you're a boxer, they're going to be your critics, right? They're either for you or against you, but they're criticizing you. They're not the fans, so he has to remember that these guys aren't the fans, they're critics. And the people who are saying these things about him will always be critics. Even if they are fans, they're always critics, right? Because your fans, those are the ones that come to your shows. Those are the ones that are supporting you. So whoever sounds like they're not supporting you, then those are your critics. You see? Shakur Stevenson, I believe, is the best in boxing right now. I do believe. Well, right, let me just say right after Terrence Crawford, Shakur Stevenson, I believe, is the best in boxing. Why? Because he is a pure defensive fighter. Um, he understands the science of the sport. He understands that it's a hit and not get hit game, right? He refuses to take the chances to get hit just because his critics want to see him punished, or want to see him punish someone else while taking this risk. You see? Because for the casual fan, right, which can be his critic, a casual fan can be his critic, they want to come out and see a great boxing match. Somebody, gets hurt uh, from a knockout, you see? And then they get to go home and say they enjoyed a hell of a match or whatever, right? And then that person that got hurt from that knockout has to go to the hospital and probably has to endure whatever that damage is for the rest of their lives. You see? Not that I'm saying that boxers should all be safe and tippy toeing and walking on eggshells, but it's just the fans don't understand that that's a real sport. They're not playing a sport. That's real. Like, they're actually in there hitting each other type thing. So for your entertainment, they are hurting each other. It's not like basketball or football. For your entertainment, the football players are trying to get their football to the opponent's end zone, right? Or basketball, same thing. The basketball players are trying to get when they have the basketball, they're trying to get it to their opponent's basket. It's not a sport where you're talking about hurting the other person. Boxing is, you see? And Shakur Stevenson understands that to the fullest. He wants to make sure that when he's 35, 40 years old, he can do other things. Yet, he's still willing to entertain you as a professional fighter by going out there with no gear on. You see, that's what professional fighters do. That's what prize fighters do. They fight for your entertainment without wearing headgear. You see, without being padded, with no shirt on. You see, that's all entertainment. That's all for appeal. Yet, when they get hit in the head, they have to live with that injury. You see? So a boxer like Shakur Stevenson is a direct resemblance of a boxer like Floyd Mayweather. So these problems that Shakur Stevenson might be having with people saying he's a boring fighter, he's going through a phase right now, the same phase that Floyd Mayweather went through. So he has to study Floyd and see how he handled these things. I think his marketing is off. First of all, I think he's going at the wrong people, and I think his marketing is off. I think he should be selling his fights differently. He's at that moment where it's time to part ways with promoter Top Rank, um, as did De La Hoya, as did Floyd Mayweather. You see, he's at that point where it's time to part ways. They've done everything they could do for his career, and it is my opinion that they did a great job with Shakur Stevenson. Excuse me. It is of my opinion that they did Top Rank did a great job with Shakur Stevenson. You see, so it's just now it's time for him to find a new home. So a new home, should it be with Eddie Hearn, right? Where somebody who's going to give you maybe a 3 to 4 fight deal and see how it works out. And he's only, he's going to offer you a check, something that makes sense. And that's about it. You see, he's never been a boxer. He doesn't really understand Shakur Stevenson. Eddie Hearns is in it to uh, promote as much fights as possible. That's how he makes his money. Now, Floyd Mayweather, on the other hand, he's in it for the sport of boxing. Why? Because he was a fighter. There are things he wants to do with the sport now. You see? No different from anybody else, like growing up in a community and then they become an elder in the community. Now they want to be the one to control the future of how that community should be ran for its own sake type thing because they come from that community. It's no different. That's who Floyd Mayweather is to boxing and how he builds his companies, right? So even though Floyd Mayweather is the richest person in boxing and probably the highest paid athlete when he was active to date. I mean, he's still at the top of boxing charts type thing. Uh, Nobody surpassed him with the points he has accumulated in the sport, and he's been retired for a very long time. You see, so now when you think of a Shakur Stevenson and you think about what what people are saying about him being a boring fighter, they said the same thing about Floyd Mayweather, and look how his life turned out. You see, he hasn't taken as much punishment, but he's cashed the biggest checks, and he's still cashing the biggest checks, and he's still building a bigger business, and he's still building a bigger empire, his business empire. You see, and so when you look at Shakur Stevenson, it's only right to say that's who Shakur Stevenson could become one day. Not that he would become Floyd Mayweather, but he could go and do the same things that Floyd Mayweather is doing because he's almost like a spitting image of him. The only thing that is off is I think is his marketing. He's marketing himself to be the best. He can beat everybody. I think he should be marketing himself to be unbeatable. Not that he can beat people, but that people can't beat him. Not that he's the boxer that can beat other boxers, but he's the boxer that no other boxer can beat. Why do I say this? I say this because of his defensive style. So everything you know about Shakur Stevenson is of self-defense. So when you think of self-defense, then it's like a person who takes martial arts classes, or a person who owns a weapon and they have it somewhere so no one can break into their home or no one could injure their person or whatnot. You're thinking self-defense. You're not thinking of somebody who will go out and beat up somebody. You're thinking about somebody who is trying to prevent somebody else from beating up on them. You see? So his marketing should reflect the same way his fighting style is. Give you an example. If everyone is saying Tank Davis can knock everybody out, can knock all the boxers he faces out, right? So he's the knockout artist. He's the Mike Tyson of the day type thing. Then you don't sell a Shakur Stevenson as a fighter that can beat Tank. You sell Shakur Stevenson as a fighter that can't be beat by Tank. You see? Because that puts Tank on the offense and it puts Shakur Stevenson on defense. Now everything sits in its proper place. So now when you go and build a fight, now everybody that wants to see Shakur Stevenson lose, they want to see Tank beat Shakur Stevenson. Now everybody that wants to see Shakur Stevenson win, they want to see that Shakur Stevenson does not get beat by Tank. You see? So I think the marketing is off. And if he can improve his marketing, if he can improve the message, then I think the fight with Tank would really do numbers. And if the message is not there yet, then it's not time for him to fight Tank. Because that is going to be one of his biggest fights. So he needs to fight some other guys first until he can get his marketing right. Until he can become that person that Floyd Mayweather became, that nobody can beat me fighter. Yeah, you're saying that I'm a boring fighter. I'm defensive. Well, it is what it is. It's going to the scorecards every time. So find a fighter for me where it never goes the distance and prove me wrong. And I'll show you every single time that I'll take it the distance unless I feel like knocking this guy out because he's too reckless type thing. You see? Now that's a different show. Now you know what you're going to get when you go to the Shakur Stevenson fight. You're going to see a person defend himself. You see? If you're a Shakur Stevenson fan, you're going to a Shakur Stevenson fight to see Shakur Stevenson defend himself against other fighters. If you're not a fan, you're going to see him lose. You see? So now he has people who want to see him lose, and he has people who want to see him defend himself. That's what Floyd Mayweather had. You see? I've always been about self-defense. I think that was one of the reasons why I liked Floyd Mayweather when he was active. When I watched the Floyd Mayweather fight, I always watched him, and I was drawn to the way he would defend himself against these fighters and defend himself against the critics. It was all about defense every time. Every time somebody lashed out at him about being this or that, it was always what he came back and countered with that I was amazed by, because it was self-defense. You see? So how did Floyd Mayweather make his fights exciting? It was a counter. So I think if anything, Shakur Stevenson really needs to double down on all of his counters and then get out of the way, just like Mayweather used to do. Mayweather used to get the counter in and then get out of the way so gracefully. And it caught well on camera. You see, you got to be that type of performer. You gotta move around the boxing ring gracefully, like Floyd Mayweather. I mean, Floyd Mayweather was a killer in his earlier fights, but when he became Money Mayweather, all of his moves were just graceful. Like his counter, once he got the counter in, he'll get out of the way so gracefully and then reset. Like, come on, I'm ready to defend myself more. Like, what else do you have for me? Type thing. He wasn't going for a knockout. He wanted to see you knock him out. Like you said all day, or not all day, but like you said all through the buildup of the fight, that you're going to be the fighter that knocked out Floyd Mayweather. You see what his message was? What was it? Something to the tune of all of them said they would do it, but all of them failed. You see, it wasn't about being the best fighter. It was about showing other fighters that they weren't as good as they thought they were. You see? So I'll end this recording right here. I just wanted to give some feedback on this current situation with Shakur Stevenson in light of his last fight against Artem. And it's still my guy. I still got him picked over Tank. I think him and Tank are two of the best fighters in the game at 135. But I still got Shakur Stevenson picked. Had they if they ever fight, I still got Shakur Stevenson picked.